Dearly beloved in the Lord, may the peace of God be with you. We thank God so much for the gift of life and for ushering us into the second day of the month of September. To Him alone be the praise. Odofo ya dawo tumfo Nyankopon asese ode yewura da etosom ye no ewo bosome nkono yimo. Ono nkoto ne de aseda emma no. Ene yakenka asem ye behu na free. Paulo krata edikan a wotwere koma Korintofo ti baako yi modu baako ebesi adue no. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 11 to 20. And the sub-theme is preach the gospel. So beka asempano. Our emphasis will be in the verse 17 through 20. Verse 17 through 20. And I read. For Christ did not send me to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with words of human wisdom, lest the cross of Christ be empty of its power. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, the intelligence of the intelligent I will frustrate. Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Has God not made foolish the wisdom of the world? Beloved, this is the word of the Lord. You can't cast 7 anymore. If you are 7 was a sin, you are one senka. Na Christians, so mammy say, member bought a shoe. Nemo say member can asempano. And yet, nyas a sem kamu. Na Christo a sin we are no anyakwa. Na sin we are who asemono, yankwasi asem ma wana warrior. Na e nyankopon to me, ma wana oreji won kwano. If they say, what shall I say? Must say a nyansafo nyansa. Na mama enim defo nim die ayekwa. A nyansafo wahin. Otwerefo wahin. Wiase chinigefo wahin. Onyankopon na ne wiase yi nyansa enkwasi asem ana. Arafo no masomafo Paulo ena o maye hunu se. The botaya erade friend on se obeka asempa no. Na sempa wo kan no enye se nyansa sem kamo. E basa tumi a ewo mu no enedi. You can kind verse 7 does say, for Christ did not send me to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with words of human wisdom, else the cross of Christ be emptied of his power. And nyanyansa sem kamu na Kristo asennua no anyekwa. And no one else ma for Paulo can say. Asennua no ho asem no ye nkwasi asem de ma wo na awoyira. It is foolishness for those who are perishing. Nemom enyame tumi e ma wo na eje wo nkwa. It is God's power to those who are being saved. Beloved in the Lord, this passage tells us of two things. That whenever we preach the gospel, the emphasis is not on our own as a person, but the gospel is so much dwelling on Christ, the work of Jesus Christ, the death of Jesus Christ. The Brebiara yebeka erade asempa no. Ye botaye no egina Kristo Yesu so. Na asempa no ene se ye boni nti Kristo wi. Na wosie no. and the nansaso no unyane no said watchre kunkuno. And this is the gospel, that because of our sin Christ died, he was buried, and he was raised to life. So whenever we preach the gospel of Christ, our emphasis should be on this. Paul. Now, the gospel is very important because it was God's chosen way of salvation and restoration planned from the beginning of the world. Nyame botaye, nyame hyehyeye, nyame tire mu pa. Efiri wiase mfiti ase o hyeto wo se onam so bema nipa enya nkwaje no atwe nipa asabata ne ho biem. But different people view and understand it differently. So according to Paul, in this passage, that is 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 18, the message of the gospel becomes a stumbling block to the Jews, who sought for signs, because to them it was incredible that one who had a shameful death on the cross could be the chosen one of God. Judah Fumo, 1 year, we say one femono, obi biara ye bona sendu ye muna je se san ni pay e ni guasi wo ya domino. We say Yesu Kristo ni agenkwa na wansu se wonam sa kwan so ne be wo. Enu nti na asempa ne yen kwasi asem e de ma won. And to the Greeks who sought for wisdom, it was foolishness to even think of such a death to have power. Na helafo nso ohune se ayen mguasede se wonnam saa owo yesu ebenya tumi eno nti na wonso wanye ni. Then to the Gentiles, for them a God is immortal and cannot die. According to their wisdom, it is ridiculous to suppose that a God who is immortal should die. Amamefo no wo say onyankopon de enka wo ngu. Eti den onyansem so obagye de say Yesu Kristo yo onyankopon de ha. Adente de say wo. Beloved in the Lord, so Paul's position was that the story of the gospel concerning the cross is foolishness to those who are on their way to destruction, but it is the power of God to those who are being saved. For what looks like God's foolishness is wiser than man's wisdom, and what looks like God's weakness is stronger than man's strength. Josema for Paulo say, asempano and asembia no one 7 year kwasi asem de ma wona wo yeda. Nanso onyame tumi de ma wona waje won kwa. De eye won nipa ni so. Say ye wona ho den no. Nyame fam de anya hwe. Eno ti na wo ka se onyankopon kwasi asem wonyansa chen nipa ni mu de. Dearly beloved in the Lord, it is however the power of God to believers, because the cross where Jesus shed his blood manifested the power of God over Satan, death, and sin, including all misery, suffering, pain, guilt, and despair. It was the place of God's redemption. It was there that God saved humankind from certain death and restored the relationship between God and man. Therefore, ascenduane so na wade da ne tumi ade. The tumi owo ewo bonsam owuo ene bone so. Eno mu ene wode yi wahaw amane yare dom efiri onipa asetenebo. Ascenduane so no nyankopon kwagijuma ewie peye manipa na edede. From this passage, the gospel that talks about the cross tells us that Christians are being assured of the revelation of God's power according to 1 Corinthians 1:18. Christians are being assured of the unqualified love of God for his people according to Romans chapter 5 verse 8. And Christians are being assured of the forgiveness of sins. And our Sambia nation no Yankopon da the 2 year the chede agidifo. And our Sambia nation no da the dry day. The bread as any bon yefo no Christo be woman your Sambia nation. And our Sambia nation and our da bon the fache the edemaye. Ne me share unkrai na me kan for ma say. Christo Sambia no and no any fapem. That is the centrality of our faith today. Asempa a ye can say ye boninti the Christo we see no I was sorry. Now we any asempa kan for ye nyina so. Enye ye personal gain. Name ebre biara obenya akonya se wo kan Awurade asem no. Ya das asem ye di. Asempa no ese se ye kan ne church mo. Se Christo nguto ene agenkwa no. Orofo nyame hira o na won hwe wo so. Wonte na ne mo nchira na won no mo. Wo ma na ni so hwe wo. Oma wo ne da asomdwe. Enne eya wo somfo Presbyterian software or Paris Emmanuel Omari. Na me da ne di amowa hu no se. Asempa no ne se Christo we osie no sorry ye bonenti. Na sembia no eno ne nyame kopon tumi ede ma wona waje won kwa. Nyame asomdwe ne wontena. Amen.